Imagine surviving colonial rule, out-talking empires, standing up in front of kings and presidents, only to end your life tied to a tree, bullets ripping through you in the dark, while foreign powers quietly look the other way. No courtroom drama. No last-minute pardon. Just gunfire, acid, and a single gold tooth left behind.
Yeah.
This one isn't pretty. Welcome back to History vs. Event, the channel where history doesn't wear gloves, doesn't whisper apologies, and definitely doesn't flinch. Before we dive into firing squads, Cold War paranoia, and one of the most shocking political murders of the 20th century, do me a quick favor. Hit subscribe and click that notification bell. Because stories like this don't show up in your feed by accident. Now, let's talk about Patrice Lumumba. Throughout history, executions have worn many costumes. Tudor England loved a public beheading. Very theatrical, very permanent. Military courts preferred firing squads, clean, efficient, and supposedly honorable. Even today, firing squads are still legal in some parts of the world. But in January 1961, the execution of the Democratic Republic of the Congo's first prime minister wasn't about justice or law. It was about fear,
Power.
and making sure one man and what he represented never came back. Patrice Lumumba was born on July 2, 1925, in a small village called Onalua, in what was then the Belgian Congo. Not royalty, not elite, just a smart kid in a brutal colonial system designed to keep people like him quiet, obedient, and far away from power. That didn't work. Lumumba was sharp, curious, restless. He educated himself, joined clubs for Western-educated Africans, and started writing poems, essays, political pieces that questioned why Congolese people were treated like tenants on their own land. Belgium had taken the Congo and squeezed it for everything: rubber, minerals, wealth, while leaving the population poor and voiceless. Lumumba didn't accept that deal. He worked as a postal sorter, trained as an accountant, and kept writing. Words were his weapon. And Belgium noticed. He even applied for and received Belgian citizenship, a rare thing at the time, but it didn't buy him safety. In 1955, he became a regional president of a trade union for government workers, joined the Belgian Liberal Party, and traveled to Belgium itself. He saw the empire from the inside. When he returned, arrested. Imprisoned for a year for embezzlement.
Convenient, right?
But prison didn't break him. It sharpened him. After his release, Lumumba went all in on politics. He helped found the Congolese National Movement, the first truly national political party in the Congo. Not tribal, not regional, national. That alone made him dangerous. He met other African leaders, absorbed ideas of independence sweeping across the continent, and preached militant nationalism at a time when Europe was desperately trying to hang on to its colonies. In December 1959, Belgium suddenly announced it would help guide the Congo toward independence. Many Congolese smelled a setup. And they weren't wrong. Riots broke out. At least 30 people were killed. Lumumba was accused of involvement and jailed again. His party refused to cooperate until he was released. That pressure worked. Lumumba was flown to Brussels, where Belgium proposed national elections. The Congolese National Movement won big, becoming the largest party in the country. On June 24, 1960, Patrice Lumumba became the first prime minister of an independent Congo. And that's when everything exploded. The army mutinied. Belgian forces interfered. The mineral-rich province of Katanga tried to secede. Lumumba asked the United Nations to help expel Belgian troops. The UN refused. So Lumumba did the unthinkable in the middle of the Cold War. He asked the Soviet Union for help. That was it. Alarm bells went off in Washington, London, and Brussels. To the west, Lumumba wasn't just an African nationalist anymore. He was a potential Soviet ally sitting on some of the most valuable resources on Earth. President Kasavubu dismissed him. Lumumba rejected the dismissal. Then Colonel Joseph Mobutu staged a military coup. The UN recognized Mobutu's government. Lumumba was placed under house arrest, guarded by UN soldiers and Mobutu's men. But Lumumba escaped. He tried to reach his supporters to form a rival government. He was captured again, beaten, humiliated, paraded, and thrown into a military camp under horrific conditions. He was held alongside two close allies. They were poorly fed, abused. Guards weren't paid and barely disciplined. Soldiers argued over whether Lumumba should be freed or killed. Eventually, the authorities decided keeping him alive was too risky, so they sent him to Katanga. During the flight, Lumumba was restrained and beaten. On arrival, he was placed under house arrest again and tortured by officers. The Katangan leadership, with Belgian officers present, debated his fate. The decision was swift. Execution. On the night of January 17, 1961, Patrice Lumumba and his two allies were driven to a quiet clearing. 3 firing squads were assembled, led by a Belgian officer named Julien Gat. Foreign officials watched. This wasn't a secret execution. It was a message. Around 9:40 p.m., the men were lined up against a tree. Ready. 3 minutes later, they were dead. Lumumba was shot repeatedly at close range. His body collapsed. Witnesses later claimed he was kicked after he fell. He was 35 years old. His body was dumped in a shallow grave. But even in death, they were afraid of him. The next day, authorities exhumed the bodies. They cut them apart, dissolved them in sulfuric acid, ground the bones, scattered the remains. The goal was simple: erase Patrice Lumumba from existence. No grave, no shrine, no martyr. They failed. All that physically remained of him was a single gold tooth. 3 weeks later, his death was officially announced, February 13, 1961. By then, rumors were already circling the globe. And then came the revelations. The CIA had considered assassinating Lumumba. The head of the agency openly stated he wished Lumumba would fall into a river full of crocodiles. Plans were drawn up. Money was allocated. President Eisenhower had been told Lumumba should be eliminated. The British government wasn't innocent either. MI5's own leadership concluded that Lumumba had to be removed by killing him because he threatened British interests and mining operations in Katanga. Belgium? Directly involved. Decades later, Belgium formally apologized. The Belgian Prime Minister stood before Lumumba's family and admitted that the Belgian government had influenced the decision to end the life of the Congo's first Prime Minister. In 2022, Lumumba's children finally received what was left of their father, the gold tooth, in Brussels. That was it. No body. No remains. Just proof that he once existed and that powerful people wanted him gone. Patrice Lumumba is remembered by some as reckless, by others as a hero, by many as a martyr of African independence crushed by Cold War politics. What's undeniable is this: he was executed not for crimes, but for ideas, for words, for daring to believe the Congo should belong to its people. His execution was brutal,
Fast.
calculated, and meant to scare an entire continent into silence. Instead, it turned him into a symbol. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to History vs. Event. Thank you so much for watching.